So I've been in my place here in London for the last couple days, and I've been working on a project that should net me $8.348 million after tax when all is said and done. And I wanted to make a quick video, one to show you like what I'm doing step by step, but more importantly, because I can already hear the complaints, the hey, this isn't for me, I don't know how to do that, or I don't have the resources. I wanted to make this video to show you why I'm doing what I'm doing, how I got to this point, because ultimately, for you on your journey, it's not the exact step-by-step things that I do that you're going to copy that are going to get you the same results. It's the mindset. It's the lessons that I learned along the way that you want to apply to your journey if you really want to be successful. So this all started actually a couple weeks ago. I was helping my mom retire, and I've been going through her retirement accounts, sort of moving money around, getting her set up for retirement. And along the way, I realized, I stopped working almost 18 months ago. I have a few retirement accounts just floating out there. I have some 401k accounts. I need to do something with those. So that was sort of like the first bit of this was the seed of, hey, I have those 401k accounts. I need to do something with those. And alongside that, I started thinking, what can I do that can actually make me the most money? And there are certain things in life where you just need to make an action quick, but sometimes for something long, like in this case, my investments, which will be in the market for the next 25 years at the minimum, it's worth spending a few hours sort of thinking through what's my best move here. And so I started thinking, like, what can I do? The first thing I started thinking on this journey as I was going on this path is, how can I get the most tax optimized portfolio? Because one of the things that I learned from Tiger 21, which is like this ultra high net worth individual social club kind of globally, is that they always think tax optimization. The only money you can spend, after all, is not the money in your portfolio, it's the money in your bank account after tax. So I started thinking, what can I do that's going to be tax optimized? Is there a way to move my 401k, which will be in America taxed when I pull the cash out, into an investment account that won't be taxed when I pull it out? So I did some digging around that and found, okay, there's a way to do this to move my 401k into a Roth IRA. So that was interesting, but that was sort of like idea and seed number one. Second was, I want to be able to invest my money better, because right now it's in a 401k account, which really allows me to pick from kind of like one of 15 pre-built portfolios. And they're not the best portfolios. They're sort of like Vanguard target retirement funds. They're good. They're sort of basic like 60-40 portfolios. But I want to do something a little bit more aggressive because I'm young, which brings me to one of my third seeds, which was this concept of life cycle investing. This is something that I read about probably a couple years ago. There was a great study on this, and it was done basically to figure out, as a young person, what can you do to optimize your chances of reaching financial independence and wealth? Like if you had to put a statistical number on each of the chess moves that you're making, what are the moves to get you to the highest likelihood of success? What they found is that a lot of the conventional wisdom around investing actually needs to go out the window. And on top of that, something very counterintuitive is that young investors should use leverage in their portfolios. And this isn't investment advice, it's just what they came out of their study finding. And I found this interesting because, Warren Buffett has this famous quote, the only way for someone who's rich to go bankrupt is to use leverage, basically. And so I was thinking like, okay, this study says I want to use leverage, but I know that you can also go broke using leverage. And the reason for that is what's called a margin call, which is if you're over levered, as in you have too much debt, they can take away your entire portfolio and you go bankrupt. So I had this idea, I want to move my investments into a tax safe haven in a legal way. That's very important. I want to have more flexibility with my investments, and I would like to use some sort of leverage in my investment portfolio so it can grow tax-free. So these are kind of like three inspirations. And from that, I said, you know what? This is worth actually putting in some work. I need to do some research here. So I spent a few hours researching it. And what I first wanted to understand is there something that I can do? And it turns out there is. There's a way to move your 401k into a Roth IRA. It takes a little bit of time, but I found that sort of like step one. Step two, can I invest in better assets? And I was looking for something that I could invest where it's leveraged, but I don't want to risk my entire portfolio. And it turns out there were these things called leveraged ETFs, which will allow you to put leverage on the ETF that you're holding or the index that you're holding without actually risking your larger investment. So if you put 100 grand in and it goes up, it can go up, as much as it wants, but it can only go down to zero. It can't go like negative 5 million and then be pulling out of the rest of your portfolio. The worst you can lose is the 100 grand you put in. And the way the leverage ETFs work at a simple level is they use like swaps and futures to basically double or triple the returns that you would get. So let's say you have a regular S&P 500 index that goes up 10%. If you have a 3x leveraged index, that will go up 30%. The flip side is if the S&P 500 goes down 10%, you will go down 30%. So it's not a short-term play, but it's a long-term play, and I'm playing long-term here. So I said, okay, can I actually find a way to move my 401k into a tax-advantaged account, and then from there, actually put some leverage on that account to get better returns. So the first thing I did was I actually popped into a tool, and I'm going to pull you around to the screen here so I can show you what I did. But I wanted to see, can I find better investments? That's sort of step number one on this. So the tool that I'm using here to actually figure this out is a tool called Portfolio Visualizer. What it essentially allows you to do is plug in investment accounts and see sort of how they would have done over time periods. So right now my stuff was invested in the Vanguard Target 25-55 retirement fund. That's one of the 15 options that I can choose from. So I wanted to see can I do something better? So what I did is I actually plugged in sort of my current 401k versus a new Roth IRA sort of alternative. And what I did is I ran them over the course of 10 years to see what have these portfolios actually done in the last 10 years. So as you can see here, the current 401k is doing about 8.5% annualized returns. That's over the last 10 years. But by putting in some leverage and investing this a little bit smarter, we actually move over to what is a 19% annualized return. So much higher return. So that was kind of my first date. I said, okay, clearly there's something here. If I can move my investments out of this sort of typical fund into one of these leverage investment portfolios that I want to set up, I could have much higher returns. But I don't think I'm actually going to get 8% or even 19%. I think the returns will be much lower. So I said, let me actually see the after-tax benefit of doing all this, because it turns out also moving from a 401k into these sort of Roth IRA vehicles has a cost. I'm going to pay about $50,000 up front to do this. So I want to make sure it's worth it. So to do that, I was actually able to use AI. I want to show you that too, because it's cool how I'm using AI to do this, and I think it will give you some inspiration for your own projects. So I'll come back over to my handy screen here, and I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, basically I've got sort of two ideas here. One is to leave my investments in a 401k. One is to move them into a Roth IRA. And yes, I'm going to have to pay some upfront money. Actually, it's $38,400. But how is that going to affect my overall return after tax? And I wanted to be more conservative. So I said, let's not do 8.5 and 19%. Let's say that the traditional 401k will do 7% and the Roth IRA will do 13%. Then I said, just give me the after-tax benefit. And so the after-tax benefit came in at $8,348,793. So what this allowed me to do is actually to quickly validate, yes, this is a viable strategy. I can do this, I can make a few chess moves, and I could literally benefit more than $8 million by switching from my traditional 401k with this sort of low return investment to a leveraged Roth IRA with a higher return of investment. And that may sound crazy, but I'm not actually the first person to have this idea. You see, there's this guy named Thiel. He is a billionaire, one of the first investors in Facebook, and he was able to turn his $2,000 into a Roth IRA worth $5 billion. And so I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm literally just taking inspiration from someone else saying, oh, they did something interesting here, and they made a ton of money doing it. Is there something I can learn from them? And what I hope you're realizing by now in this video is that this isn't a step-by-step how to make an extra $8 million in your investment portfolio. In fact, this is all just sort of what I'm doing. You shouldn't take this as investment advice or anything. What it is that I am showing you how the various things I've been a part of, the various things that I've learned over the years, the inspiration from someone like Thiel has led to me being able to make a few sort of moves here, validate with a few hours of research, and then turn that into an additional $8 million after tax for me personally, in my bank account. And that is crazy to me. There's no higher ROI. Now, obviously, all this has a few stipulations as well. One, I had to have this investment portfolio, my 401k, actually, and my wife's, that's worth about $400,000. So part of this was, the success that we can have today was made possible by the decisions we made in the past. So we were investing into these portfolios, letting them grow. On top of that, we have played defense enough to play offense because it's going to cost me 40 grand out of pocket to move this into the Roth IRA. So there's like a real cash that I have to pay today to get this benefit in the future. And it's going to take about 4 years. So this isn't a quick once and done thing. My team will be moving this cash into the Roth IRA over the next 4 years. And then the final piece of this is, this all sounds good on paper, but what I also did is I set up a call with my CPA, and I'm going to talk to them, make sure that everything we're doing here is above board, totally within the rules of the IRS regulations, that we're not even doing any weird tax loopholes, that we're just actually following the law to the letter. So yes, maybe this is sort of a convoluted way of saying, here's how my specific situation will turn into $8 million after tax for me personally, but I hope this video was valuable. I hope that you were able to see how I'm stitching together different lessons and making moves that ultimately make me a ton of money. You know what's funny about this, maybe I'll close with this, is that I have a world-class team that manages my funds, like world-class. They manage over $20 billion for me and about another 100 families combined, not my 20 billion. But they're some of the world's best investors. And I have some of the world's best tax people and estate attorneys and everything else. But no one actually brought this idea to me. This idea that literally we just have to fill out some paperwork, make a few moves, pay 40 grand, and then it'll turn into $8 million for me after tax. None of my team brought this to me, and I can't fault them for it. There's one thing I've learned on this investing and money journey. It's that you need to be the CEO of your own bank balance. There's no one else that you can outsource full-on responsibility for, because no one will ever care as much as you. Don't be that person that just says, I don't want to look at it, I don't want to think about it. You need to constantly be thinking like, how can I optimize this? Am I learning the best strategies? Am I up to speed on the way that real, true wealthy people are building wealth? And if not, go study, go read. Like, I learned this by being in the rooms and by studying, and it's something you can do too. Anyways, I hope this sort of behind the scenes thing where I'm showing you guys some of the moves that I'm making and sort of getting you in the mindset of the wealthy is useful. If you like content like this, give it a thumbs up, but also leave a comment and let me know, is this sort of content where I'm showing you behind the scenes the moves that I'm making actually useful, actually helpful? Because there's something I want to make more of, but I want to make sure you guys are enjoying it too. So that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one.